Why your cat sits in boxes, bags and circles. The science behind it is fascinating. You order something online, the box arrives. Before you've finished emptying it, your cat is inside. You set down a grocery bag, your cat sits in it. You draw a circle on the floor with tape, a ring maybe 12 inches wide, and you watch your cat step directly into it and sit down like they've been assigned a post. This is one of the most universal and most photographed behaviors in cat ownership. It's beloved, it's funny, it's completely predictable, and almost no one actually understands why it happens. The explanation, when you get into the science of it, is not about curiosity or warmth or personality quirks. It's about something deeper in how a cat's brain experiences safety, threat, and control over their environment. And once you understand it, you'll never look at the box-sitting cat the same way. You'll see something entirely different. 1. Enclosed spaces reduce the threat perimeter a cat has to monitor. Start with the most fundamental thing: what a cat is doing cognitively when they inhabit any enclosed space. A cat in open space has to monitor 360 degrees. Threats can come from any direction, from behind, from the sides, from above. The nervous system, tuned for predator awareness, maintains a continuous background scan of the entire perimeter. This scan is not effortful in the way conscious vigilance is, but it is constant, and it has a cost. It keeps the cat at a baseline level of alertness that never fully drops. Place that same cat inside a box. Now the threat perimeter changes. The walls behind them and on their sides are eliminated from the scan. Threats can now only approach from the front, from the open side of the box. The area requiring active monitoring has been reduced from 360 degrees to perhaps 90 or 120. The cost of that background vigilance drops accordingly. The brain interprets this as relief, not consciously, but neurologically. The amygdala, the brain region responsible for threat detection and stress response, processes less incoming information in an enclosed space. The physiological correlates of that reduced processing are measurable. A 2014 study in applied animal behavior science gave shelter cats either access to a box or no box during their initial intake period. Cats with boxes adapted to the shelter environment significantly faster than cats without, showed lower cortisol levels, and scored lower on stress assessment scales. The difference was not subtle. The box changed the biology of how those cats experienced their situation. This is not about preference. It is about neurological relief. 2. The smaller, the better. And this surprises everyone. Here's the part that seems counterintuitive, but has consistent evidence behind it. Given a choice between a large box and a small one, most cats will choose the smaller one. Not the one with more room, not the one where they fit more comfortably. The one that fits them most snugly, sometimes so snugly that it looks obviously uncomfortable to a human observer. The reason is the principle we just discussed, taken to its logical conclusion. The smaller the box, the fewer degrees of approach remain open. In a very tight space, the threat perimeter is reduced almost entirely. A box that a cat barely fits in is, from a threat management perspective, almost optimal. Nearly complete protection on all sides with minimal open exposure. This also explains the circle phenomenon. Researchers discovered that cats will sit inside a shape drawn with tape on the floor. Even though there are no walls, even though the drawn lines provide no physical protection whatsoever. This seems to contradict the threat perimeter explanation. But it actually extends it. The researchers' interpretation is that the visual boundary created by the circle activates a cognitive process. The brain registers a bounded space and treats it as a categorically different kind of territory than unbounded floor. The boundary is not physical, but the effect, at some level of processing, is similar. The circle cat is not confused. They're responding to a spatial signal that their brain interprets as enclosure. They're sitting inside the representation of safety, not just the physical version of it. 3. The hiding in bags behavior. Slightly different motivation. Bags, paper bags, grocery bags, open tote bags, duffel bags left partially open, attract cats in a way that is subtly distinct from boxes and circles. Bags combine the enclosed space features we've discussed with two additional sensory elements: scent and sound. Paper bags especially carry the scent of wherever they've been: grocery stores, cardboard storage rooms, other environments your cat hasn't visited, but whose chemical signatures are novel and interesting. For a scent-driven animal, a bag is an olfactory event. The investigation of a new bag is partly the same motivation as the investigation of a new box: enclosed space, reduced threat perimeter, and partly sensory exploration of a novel and information-rich object. The sound component is also relevant. Paper and certain soft plastic materials produce crinkly, rustling sounds when moved. Sounds that share acoustic properties with the movement of small prey animals through foliage or dry grass. Sitting inside a bag that shifts and crinkles with the cat's movement creates a continuous, low-level, hunting-adjacent sensory experience. This is why bags specifically often produce the play response that boxes sometimes don't. A cat inside a paper bag is in an enclosed space that also sounds like prey is nearby. That combination is genuinely irresistible from a neurological standpoint. 4. Why cats choose these spots when they're stressed. The behavior we've been describing is a baseline comfort-seeking behavior, something cats do when they're in a good state and there happens to be a box or bag available. But the same behavior has a stress version that carries different information, and knowing the difference matters. Cats who are experiencing ongoing anxiety or stress in their environment seek enclosed spaces with significantly higher frequency and urgency than comfortable cats. A cat who has always occasionally sat in boxes but is now spending most of their time in the back of a closet, or under the bed, or inside any enclosed space they can access, and who is doing this in a pattern that has shifted from baseline, is using the same neurological mechanism, but because their baseline level of threat perception has elevated. The enclosed space provides the same neurological relief it always does, but they're seeking it more because they need the relief more. Their threat perimeter monitoring system is working harder than normal, and the compensation they know, reducing the perimeter through enclosure, is being deployed continuously. This shift from occasional box sitting to sustained, almost exclusive enclosed space behavior is one of the clearer environmental distress signals a cat can produce. If you notice it, it's worth identifying what has changed in the environment. A new animal, a new person, a change in schedule or noise level, a persistent stressor the cat can't escape. These are the typical drivers. Subscribe here, because what comes next is the most practical thing in this video. 5. What happens in the brain when a cat is inside a box? Let's go deeper into the neuroscience, because this is the part that explains everything else. The cat's stress response system operates through the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the same system that governs cortisol production in humans. When threat-relevant stimuli are detected, cortisol rises. When threat-relevant stimuli are reduced or absent, cortisol has the opportunity to decrease. Being inside a well-fitting box reduces the incoming stimuli that the threat detection system registers as potentially significant. Fewer directions of potential approach means fewer stimuli processed as potential threats. Fewer threat-relevant stimuli means reduced pressure on the HPA axis. Reduced HPA activation means cortisol has less pressure driving it upward. The practical result: a cat inside a well-fitting box is, in measurable physiological terms, calmer than the same cat in open space. Not because they decided to feel calm, because the architecture of the space is removing the conditions that generate stress chemistry. This is why the behavior is so compelling and so consistent. The box is not a preference. It is a physiological relief mechanism. The cat seeks it for the same reason you might close a door when you want to concentrate or pull a blanket over you when you want to feel settled. The boundary provides something the body needs. 6. How to use this knowledge for a happier, less stressed cat. The science behind box sitting is not just interesting. It is directly applicable to how you set up your home for your cat. Cats who have access to enclosed resting spaces, box-like cat beds, enclosed cat houses, covered beds with small openings, paper bags and boxes left intentionally, show measurably lower baseline stress markers than cats who sleep only on exposed surfaces. This finding has been replicated in shelter, laboratory, and home environments consistently enough to make it a standard recommendation in feline environmental enrichment guidelines. The size matters. Smaller, snugger spaces are preferable to large ones. The location matters. Enclosed spaces positioned where the cat can see the room's entry points from inside provide both enclosure and surveillance. The optimal combination. The number matters too. Cats in multi-cat households or in homes where there are other stressors benefit from having multiple enclosed spaces in different rooms. When a cat feels cornered or overstimulated in one location and cannot access their preferred enclosed space because another animal is using it, the stress response rises. Redundancy in enclosed spaces reduces conflict and baseline stress simultaneously. You don't need expensive cat furniture to accomplish this. A cardboard box with a front opening placed on a low shelf or table where your cat can see the room from inside it costs nothing and provides significant physiological benefit. 7. The specific cat that you just thought of. You probably have a mental image of a specific cat in a specific box right now. The one who appears in the Amazon box before you finished unpacking it. The one who tries to fit into something obviously too small and insists on it anyway. The one who detected the tape circle experiment online and immediately tried to get into the circle on the video screen. That cat isn't silly. That cat is efficient. They've identified the available architecture in their environment that most directly reduces the cost of vigilance. And every time they climb into the box, they're doing what every living creature does when given the option. Choosing the state that requires the least effort to feel safe. The box tells you something about your cat's brain that is, in the end, quite touching. All that vigilance they carry, the constant background monitoring, the endless environmental assessment, the never quite fully off awareness of what's around them, the box turns it down. Inside the box for a while, the nervous system rests. And that cat who won't stop sitting in the box you need for something else? They found the thing in your home that makes them feel the most at ease. The least you can do is get them their own. Subscribe if this changed how you see the strange, funny, perfectly logical things your cat does every day.